Hello and welcome to the Simple Worship Conversation, also known as the morning program with Shannon Moore. I am so glad that you're here and have a special guest today, Russ Peterman, our senior minister. So I have not asked you on a lot because I've been reticent to do that because you're always preparing for sermons and that sort of thing. But you said you were sort of...
I was a little offended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little offended. I was put off.
So I'm making up for it now.
All right. We'll see. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We've been going through 1 Corinthians, but I wanted to take a departure today. It's kind of been some heavy stuff. And I wanted to take a departure today and look at one of my favorite scriptures, which is from the first chapter of James, written by, some say, Jesus' brother.
Mm-hmm. James?
Yeah. Some people say not, but we'll go with that for the sake of the conversation.
Sure.
And I think it's a good word for us, for where we are. So a little word of hope and some advice even. So
Nice.
You know how it works. I'll read the scripture. I'll turn the timer on. We have 10 minutes to talk about
Talk fast.
this scripture, so we got to talk fast.
Okay.
All right, so James chapter 1, I'm going to start with verse 19
Okay.
and go through the 25th verse. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, rid yourselves of all sordidness and rank growth of wickedness, and welcome with meekness the implanted word that has the power to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and on going away immediately forget what they were like. But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. That was kind of a tongue twister. So I'm going to start our timer.
Did a great job reading that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I like the affirmation. All right. I always ask, what comes to mind when you hear that? What do you think?
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that James is one of your favorite books. It's one of mine too. What's interesting about James is that it has an interesting past in that there are some, even way back Eusebius in the 4th century, when they were putting together the canon, who argued heavily that James should not be
we don't know about this
even
one.
included in this one. Martin Luther, too, called it the Epistle of Straw because it only mentions Jesus twice in the entire book. There's no Christology, there's no sense. It's all practical type stuff. And so that's part of the reason that I like it, too. And yes, it does give some advice. But clearly, though, Shannon, be slow to anger, quick to listen, that has nothing to do, that's not a word that we need to hear today.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for being... No, let's talk about that. I mean, what does that even mean? I mean, slow to speak, I understand.
Sure.
Because I grew up in North Carolina. We all speak slowly.
I don't think that's what that means.
It's not what that means. But what is he saying here? What does that mean to be quick to listen? That's an interesting turn of phrase, and slow to speak. And slow to anger. I want to talk about all three of those.
All three of those? Quick to listen. I think that listening is one of the great lost arts in our culture today.
What?
Listening is one of the that by and large people are not good listeners. That we've lost the ability, and I wonder if part of it is that we live in a soundbite culture. That anything longer than about 30 seconds, people just sort of check out and their mind wanders. I think we have lost the ability to listen and to do it effectively.
And to not do what I just did, which is waiting for the other person to finish what they're saying so I can say something.
You're thinking, how am I going to respond to this, as opposed to really listening to what that person has to say.
And letting it sink in, and then responding, rather than half listening so that I can get my word or my argument. I get that. What about slow to speak? Is that connected? Is that a different?
Yeah, I mean, I think those two oftentimes go hand in hand. What's the old adage? We have two ears and one mouth. We should use those proportionately. That we should listen more than we speak. And I think by and large, like I said, that's been lost in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Because everybody, it seems, wants to say their opinion louder than
Sure.
the other
Sure.
person.
You ever had one of those things where your spouse, your partner, your friend, whatever, comes to you and says, here's what's going on, and I'm having this horrible, awful, bad day, and just begins to spur, and the whole time you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, I can fix it with this. Here's the advice that I need to give them on that, and then you get to the end and you say, well, here's what you should do. And the person says to you, I didn't want you to fix my problem, I just want you to listen to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, didn't ask for advice.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I can't tell you how many times in my ministry that somebody's come to me and said, I need help with this problem, with this thing that I'm struggling with, whether it's a faith issue or a family issue, and they sit there and they just sort of talk it out over the next 45 minutes, and then they get up and say, oh, thank you, you've been incredibly helpful. I really appreciate that advice. And then I think, I didn't give you any advice at all. You just needed to be able to, you just needed somebody to listen more than anything else.
And probably because we don't get so much of that anymore,
Right.
when clergy or counselors
Yep.
are available to just listen.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
so valuable. And how much, value would there be in doing that in everyday
Sure.
conversations,
Absolutely.
which obviously James, even way back when, saw the
Right.
value of that.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in slow to anger. It sort of reminds me of the command to love, in that how can you control that? How do you, if it's a feeling, if it's an emotion, how do you love something that you don't love? In the same way, if one is quick to anger, how do you temper that? How do you be slow to anger if you're quick to anger?
You know what Mark Twain says?
What?
My favorite theologian of all time. When you're angry, count to 4. When you're really angry, swear. So oftentimes just simply taking a deep breath and realizing what it really is that you're angry about, I think sometimes enables us to kind of temper that anger a little bit.
Are you quick to anger? Do you get angry easily?
Who are you asking? Are you asking me or are you asking my family?
You.
Oh, yes, I'm very patient, I'm very kind, I'm very loving, very slow to anger. Don't ask my family.
Do you express it? Are you like a shower, or do you do you show it, or do you
I majored in
down?
passive aggressive behavior in college. That was my thing. So I'm really good about letting them know that I'm angry and then storming out the room.
Do you say I'm angry?
Oh, no, I just let them know.
So they should know by the way
Right.
you're. Gotcha.
Yeah.
For me, I get really angry.
That's healthier though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, we should talk.
I just need somebody to listen, Shannon.
For me, I get angry or I get mad,
Mm-hmm.
but I tend to not let it out.
Oh, right. You
And
suppress
so when I get angry enough to show it,
Yeah.
it just rattles me to the
Oh,
core.
sure,
It,
yeah.
it sort of throws me off balance.
Yeah.
So I don't even. But sometimes I wonder if, when James says slow to anger, does that mean don't let anybody know you're angry, or does it mean teach yourself how not to get so angry over things?
I think anger, when it's used correctly, can be helpful. I think righteous indignation can sometimes be a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at what's going on in the world today. If you're not angry at something, you're probably not paying attention.
Mm.
And so, the anger that is expressed accurately and correctly towards the right thing can sometimes be a positive thing.
Okay. Good.
It's
So-
got to be focused. It's got to be
Right, and not
sure.
just attacking somebody else.
Shannon, how many times have I ever said the issue is never the issue? I think oftentimes if we can identify what the real issue is.
Why is this making me so angry?
Right. And because, as I said to you earlier, oftentimes when we get angry, that is, we're really covering up for something inside, right?
Yeah.
Because if I can get angry at you for something that you're doing, I don't have to pay attention to the stuff that's going on within me.
Right. We're real smart.
Well, yes.
Let's move on to the next segment.
No, let's just go back to that
Let's
part
go
of
back
it.
to that part.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a doer of the word and not merely hearers?
Have you ever met someone that can quote the Bible, that can sound very righteous and holy, and can pray eloquently, but that the way that they live their life is not all that faithful?
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to let our lives reflect what we believe, even more so than our words.
Okay. What does this little section that he talks about, I've always not really understood the analogy that he makes here of it's like looking in a mirror and then walking away forgetting what you look like. What do you think he means by that? I think that's a strange...
That is a strange thing.
A strange example. I don't know the answer, but
I
I'm
don't
just
either.
wondering if you have a guess. It just sort of seems like a exercise in futility. Maybe if you're gonna look in the mirror and
then just forget.
right.
Yeah.
It's like my grandmother's picked up her sister one time to go to work, and she said, "Your hair looks awful," and her sister said, "I don't care. I only got to look at it." So that was too fast.
It was. Start it again.
All right, that's our time.
All right.
So any final thoughts? Lee McCracken went over a minute last week.
Did she?
So if you have any final thought that you want to add?
No. Just thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this.
I'm so glad that you were. This was great fun.
And I'm over my anger about never being invited to come back before.
All right, I'm going to ask you more now. It's just
All right, good.
more work for you
Good.
to do.
Well,
But
that's all right. That's
you know,
why they.
I think you can handle it.
I can.
All right. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope that you have a great week and are slow to anger and quick to listen. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Grace and peace.